and it's a winning, never to lose. When we talk about vacation, though, it's always a cruise. It's Tony and Tommy with a TNT schmooze. Cruise Talk Weekly, and we lighten the fuse.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode, a festive episode of Cruise Talk Weekly. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Tony, and I don't know, you can't see it if you're just listening, but I'm doing finger guns over here. Choo-choo, choo-choo, like it's the Wild West. Well, I don't even know why that matters, but yes, it's another episode of Cruise Talk Weekly. This is episode 15 for those that are scratching off the days on your prison cell listening to. You think they let people listen to podcasts in prison?
We're big. We're big in the
in the incarcerated community.
Yes, absolutely.
Look, it's important. You say it on your podcast all the time. Always be booked. So if you're doing 5 to 10 for some sort of armed robbery, make sure you got a cruise booked. You can reach out to Tommy. He can get you booked. And as soon as you get, well, I don't know. Can people on parole? That's a whole. What's up, Tommy? How you doing, man?
Good, good. Some people might argue that the situation on the Villa V is a little prison-like, maybe. I don't know, but.
Man, you know what? I just came off the Star Princess, and boy, are my arms tired. I just came off the Star Princess, and I watched Brubaker from 1980. This is maybe that's why I'm thinking about prison. This is some, man, Robert Redford was a good-looking dude. Robert Redford was a incognito undercover prison warden. Then he came out and exposed himself as the warden, and then he tried to reform the prison. I don't even know if it was a good movie, but I always heard it was well-regarded. I watched it, but I don't know. I'm even hesitant to talk about it because somebody's going to say, oh, you went on a cruise vacation and then you took the time to watch a movie? You could have been out there drinking.
As a warden, can we just say this? As a warden, you should never expose yourself?
I think that's true in most scenarios. You could almost put any scenario out and follow it up with don't expose yourself, and it would probably be correct.
And what's with Robert Redford having the cornering the market on prison movies? Have you seen The Last Castle with James Gandolfini?
Oh, I think I did see that. It doesn't jump straight to mind, but I remember watching. I went through that phase, maybe like most Sopranos people did, that if you watch The Sopranos, you're like, oh, what else can I watch with James Gandolfini? Because he did that one movie with the lady from Seinfeld. But yeah, I remember Last Castle being good. James Gandolfini was the heavy in that, right? He was the bad guy?
Yeah, well, he was the warden. He didn't expose himself. He was the warden. But yeah, it was just a little bit. It was good. Let's just not spoil it. Good movie. More of like a cultish type of movie, not necessarily a classic timeless hit, but I liked it a lot. But we got a show going.
Where do you stand on what to do on a cruise? Do you think it's wrong to watch the television while you're on a cruise? I mean, they put the TV right there in your cabin. I mean, it's got to be for more than just the bridge cam or something, right?
Can you post it again, Tony? Because I think what you did, in the annals of content creation, I think there's a video that stands out that's must watch for everybody. That video of you early days talking about and just satirically making fun of anybody who makes fun of anybody for doing anything other than exactly what they want on a cruise. And you did it in a very, very funny way. And that's how I found you. And I thought it was phenomenal. So no. Watch a movie, take a bath, watch a game, exercise, do whatever you want on a cruise. That's it.
Yeah, I think the rule that some people forget, as long as you're not violating like policy, breaking the rules, infringing on somebody else, I think the mantra of I paid my money, it really covers it all. Like I paid my money, right? So if I want to, I don't know, chew a pack of Hubba Bubba and blow bubbles while I'm laying around on my cruise. It's always funny to me, like the people that say don't do this on the cruise, and then the alternate is like get blackout drunk. That's what you should be doing. It's like, well, not everybody's into that. And I mean, no shame on anybody that wants to get blackout drunk every day of the cruise, but
it's your lane now. What's right?
Yeah, is that really the alternative? Yeah, but you never said, "Hey, don't read a book, get blackout drunk."
Exactly.
And I've never done to expose yourself on a cruise, so I think it's all good. We got, I think the problem with the world right now is that P. Diddy documentary, and we're all in baby oil and all that other stuff. So.
Speaking of awkwardness, I have to just check in and address something in the room. I was told by people I respect that intent is everything, and no matter where you go with things, as long as you're intending to do the right thing, my intention with this outfit that has me looking like the neighbor in a 1985 sitcom is trying to be a little festive, Tony. I have this faded red T-shirt that I bought for a Scarlet Night in Key West, and I have this sort of green Hawaiian shirt that I bought for St. Patrick's Day on Long Island, and I'm trying to put something Christmassy together, and that's my best ever. We did talk about in the beginning of this maybe doing some kind of like thematic dress, or as they as they say in overseas, fancy dress as a theme for the show. We haven't really necessarily attacked that yet, but yes, this crazy wacky getup of uncoordinated color scheme is my attempt at being festive.
All right. I was going to let sleeping dogs lie, as they say, as if, I'm making references for the 1840s. I was going to let sleeping dogs lie, but the comments were lively last week over on the YouTube channel. Look, if you want to mouth off, if you want to pop off, if you want to push back against anything we have to say, or if you want to just come give us flowers and tell us how wonderful we are, we'll take both. Just come over to the comments over on the YouTube videos. But you got called a Grinch last week for your dislike of holiday pajamas.
Yes, and I have to say, I did notice that. I also said,
Tommy Grinch.
I got what I deserved. Because you know how when you speak something into your phone or you look something up and then it seems like it's around every corner for the rest of the week, month, or year? Yep. This is what happened to me. I mentioned something about men in pajamas, and I saw nothing but grown men, middle-aged men. Yes, I'll take it on. I am the resident pajamaphobe on the show, but I got my just due. I was hit with...
Can we clarify, though, your outfit today, not pajamas or pajamas?
It's not pajameric in nature, but I guess it could be. It's just as bad. What's the worst
situation? Is there elastic anywhere near your ankles?
I'm going to spare everybody from the stand-up, but no, we do not have any elastic. And yes, I did DM you or text you a picture of someone in public, and you agreed. You said there's elastic, so no, it's not acceptable.
Not acceptable. Well, happy Christmas week. I didn't even think about it. It's the weird thing about the life we live sometimes is days just flow together. And absolutely, as we sit here, we're only a few days away from the big celebration. The cool thing, and I think it's worth mentioning, have you ever been on a cruise during any holiday, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, Columbus Day, Flag Day, Arbor Day? Have you ever been on an Arbor Day cruise?
Yeah, I've been on a Christmas cruise. I did they didn't necessarily go all out for the Arbor Day from what I understand, but from what I experienced. But yeah, the Christmas cruise I did go on, and it was very festive. I loved it. It was the Carnival Celebration when it was only a couple of weeks old, so they really did go all out. They definitely they do a good job of nailing down the vibe on things like Christmas and Halloween. Have you?
Yeah, so this the cruise I just came off of on the Star Princess, I think most cruise lines during December, they do decorate, at least for the holidays. My very first one was in December of 2018 on Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas. And if you've ever been on any of those Royal Caribbean ships, they have that open promenade layout. And there was a huge Christmas tree in there on the Oasis of the Seas by Sorrento's, which was amazing. We were looking back this week at pictures we took at it, and it was nice. It was cool to be on the ship and have that. And then on Star Princess this week, probably the largest Christmas tree I've ever seen. It took up most of the piazza, which is what they're calling their atrium now. Fancy name, I guess, for atrium. The piazza, multi-deck Christmas tree, but then they also had a huge menorah there also, and they were doing, what was interesting is they had a Hanukkah ceremony every night, but they didn't really have like a Christmas ceremony. They had a tree lighting, and then, so it's an interesting thing because cruising is, of course, vast and diverse, and I'm assuming there's other celebrations during this time of year, but those were the two that got that usually gets played out on cruise ships, which I think, it's one of those deals where you just try to cover the majority of things. And but I love it. I love seeing the ship decorated. Last year when I was on the Sun Princess, they had a Santa Claus there, but I didn't see a Santa Claus this week, which was a bummer because I love we're going to talk about all-inclusive packages later, but the two packages that Princess has, the Princess Plus and the Princess Premier, on the Premier, there, they have unlimited photographs that you can download digitally, and then they're going to give you 3 like printed photographs. And so I'll take a picture with anybody. So I was kind of angling, and I told the people, my shipmates that I was cruising with this week, I'm like, man, get your picture made with Santa, because you're going to be able to get that for free. It's going to be included. And but Santa did not make it. So apparently he could have been held up in court, or maybe he was busy. I don't know. No Santa Claus.
Jeez. I'm a cheese ball when it comes to that stuff. I have always liked the holidays. I've always enjoyed the way they kind of like, especially coming from New York, it's a little bit different. I think, so, Long Island, it was always everybody's all about the tree, all about the decorations. There's a different vibe in the air during Christmas. The regular radio stations are now mixing it in with some good Christmas music, some bad music. And then when I went to work in the city, I was lucky enough to work in basically Rockefeller Center. So for like 6 years straight, I was, basically Christmas Central with the tree and everything, the giant Christmas tree, and Radio City. Every year I would, sneak out and get a little nap and pop into the Rockette show and pass out for a couple of hours and, go back to work after that. It was a nice little nap. But yeah, I really, really always liked Christmas. But Tony, I really vibe off of this last, 8 to 10 years or so, this Caribbean Christmas kind of vibe, this Kenny Chesney vibe, this whole thing where it's like, you're in Florida, there's palm trees, but there's still room to celebrate Christmas with the lights on the palm trees. And Tony, my favorite thing, boat parades. Christmas boat parades are a vibe for real.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that even in the town that I live in here on the west coast of Florida, Floridians are into Christmas and Christmas decorations. And it may be easier for Floridians to decorate their yard and their house maybe than people that get cold weather. But even in my neighborhood, there's just some fantastic Christmas displays. And that used to be one of my favorite memories as a kid. My mom and dad, we pile up in the car and we go around and look at Christmas lights. And that's what I was telling my wife. We got some kids coming in, and I'm like, maybe we should all get in the car and just go look at Christmas decorations. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite times of year. And then, of course, when we were kids, we had all that great claymation and, TV shows and the Charlie Brown stuff. Yeah, the other thing that was cool on the Star Princess is they give you a bunch of movies that you can watch for free. Some cruise lines are going to charge you to watch, the latest movies and all that, but Princess has a vast catalog, and they had a Christmas section, and I had a little bit of a shock on there, a movie that showed up in the Christmas section. Before I get to that, though, do you have a favorite Christmas movie that you try to watch frequently, or is there anything that you watch every year Christmas-wise?
I'll get heat for this too. I have a real affinity for Christmas with the Cranks. I love it. It's got such ridiculous. The character that Dan Aykroyd plays in that movie is just the type of ridiculousness that I can get on board with. I love it. So, that's a
lead. Is that Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's got a cruise component to it as well.
Ooh, I don't think I've ever seen it. So this will be the week we can shame me for not seeing movies. I don't think I've seen Christmas with the Cranks.
Yeah, well, that's Caddyshack is probably more of a shame that you haven't seen. But I would suggest maybe popping it in and watching it. At your own risk. I don't want to be that guy, because I really do think there's a thing where if somebody goes out of their way to recommend something to you and it falls flat, yeah, they lose They lose a lot of credibility. That's time you can't get back.
I've gotten in Christmas movie trouble before. I remember telling somebody I'd never seen Miracle on 32nd Street or 22nd, whatever that is, and A Wonderful Life. I didn't see A Wonderful Life till I was sometime in my 40s, and that was a shocker.
Okay, now you beat me. Now you eclipse my Caddyshack situation. Miracle on 34th Street and 34th Street and A Christmas. What is it?
A Wonderful Life, A Christmas Story. I've seen a ton. And I used to watch A Christmas Story all the time. You'll shoot your eye out, Ralphie. Of course, Christmas Vacation. My son's a big fan of the Santa Claus. We will watch that quite a bit. Elf, we've seen quite a bit. But right there on the movie selection, and this one could be controversial. We'd love to hear in the comments how you feel about this, and I'm excited to hear how you feel about this, Tommy. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? It was in the Christmas section on Princess.
In the deal with us.
It's a Princess. It's a Christmas movie. What do you do? How do you? I don't know that I've seen all of Die Hard. If that's gonna get me in trouble, I don't think I've seen that.
I haven't. No, I haven't seen the movie, so I get to bow out of that aggressive debate because I have not seen. Wait, no, Die Hard 1. Yeah, I've seen it.
1. Yeah. They say it's a Christmas movie. I don't know.
It's not a Christmas movie. You can say whatever you want. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Rocky 4 is more of a Christmas movie than Die Hard. That's it. Final answer.
How was Rocky 4 a Christmas movie? Something happens in Christmas there?
Tony, come on. The fight is in Christmas. The fight where he goes to Russia.
Well,
It's on Christmas. And who could forget the scene right before the fight where he's in the room and it's, a part of the soundtrack. Alvin and the Chipmunks are on there.
Really? I need to revisit. I just remember the tent poles of that movie, right? Apollo Creed gets murdered. Rocky, he's sad. Can he beat Ivan Drago? I got to go old school, so I'm going to go flip tires in Russia. Did he go to Russia to do it, or did he just go to the snow somewhere? Whoa.
He went to Russia. Me and my friend John, who were at the Chop Shop together, we toyed with the idea of starting a podcast around Karate Kid movies and Rocky movies. It's a passion. It's a real thing.
Can I throw a Rocky theory out at you, and you tell me whether I'm wrong or not?
Yeah.
Does his ability to speak English improve as he gets more fluent and then devolve when he loses everything that he has? Because in the beginning, he's like, and then maybe by 3 or 4, he's fairly articulate, right? He's wearing a suit. He lives in the mansion, but then he loses it all. And then he's back trying to be a restaurant owner. He's like,
well, as he says,
is that true?
As he says in Creed very eloquently, when he's talking about the Drago lineage, he says, that man broke things inside of me that will never be fixed. So you're absolutely right, but I don't believe it's because of the return to poverty. It's because Drago knocked him 6 ways from Sunday in that bout in 4, and he started, he was having trouble getting sanctioned in Rocky 5.
Sure.
But so this is what the people came here for, right? Listen.
Yeah, we're talking Christmas, we're talking cruising, we're talking Rocky. Look, we could have a boring podcast where we just talk about cruising,
I love it.
Hey, a million people went to Celebration Key. If you're not one of them, who cares?
Right.
Is that as interesting as Rocky? More than 1 million people know Rocky. I'm going to defend our podcast, Tommy.
I love it. I love it. I'm just, I can go, because the problem is I hedge, because I could go off on these tangents. They call me Tommy Tangentino on my other show. I could go off for 90 minutes on this, so I'm trying to self-govern. But yeah.
No, we got it, man. We're inside the lane. We're inside the rails. I promise. But we could talk cruising. That is something that happened this week that I guess is a big deal. I think Celebration Key opened July or August. I guess I could find out specifically. But since then, they've had 1 million people visit Celebration Key. I don't remember what number I was, but I've gone twice. So do you think they count me twice, or do you think they count me once?
That's a great question.
Because you went once too, right?
I did go once. And I want to get this straight, Tony. So you're telling me that this thing that they built for tens or hundreds of millions of dollars that is designed to have thousands and thousands of people shuttle through it on a daily basis, are you telling me they got to a certain large number of people that actually showed up to it, 1 million?
Yes, so I'm doing some internet stuff right here. So July the 19th, 2025 is when this opened. I'm asking Google to tell me how many days it's been since July the 19th. 19th or wait, hold on. No, I've lost it. July the 19th. Okay, how many days since July the 19th, 2025?
This is unprecedented. So
155 days. So what is 1 million divided by 100? And this happened earlier, but we'll just use today's date. What is 1 million divided by 155? 6,451.61 people per day. That's what they would have had to have accomplished to do 1 million people in 155 days.
I want to meet the person that stands there. Is it like one of the, the washy-washy person that's just doing the clicker? That's a 1, 2, and then they look at, wait a minute, did I count them already? Oh my gosh. Anyway, we're making a little bit of light here. Congratulations to Carnival. Congratulations to Celebration Key. But I do find it a little humorous, that you are counting and such. It's only a couple months in, right? You're going to have a lot of people coming through this place. We know that there's going to be a lot of people showing up, or else, what was the point? To stop a couple of months in and say, we're hitting milestones now. on this basically private island or private destination that's still in its infancy is crazy. How often are we going to have to do this? We doing 1250? We doing 1,250,000 as well?
Yeah, so the PR game is interesting, right? Because, in a sea of questionable and sometimes negative stories, you've got to chum the water, I think, with positive stories, right? Because there's really, the amount of people that are on the cruise ships. You built the itineraries to dock at Celebration Key. So before it opened on July the 19th, you probably could have said that on this day we're going to hit 1 million passengers, because you already know the passenger movements that you're going to have to that location. So again, yeah, it's a little bit arbitrary, but, beautiful thing with arbitrary things is you can make them special. So they grabbed a family of 4, parents and 2 of their kids, and they gave them T-shirts and said, we're the millionth. A couple nice folks from Knoxville, Tennessee with their children. And they gave them a cabana for the day. They gave them all kinds of, pomp and circumstance. And, it's great. I think it is important to celebrate the milestones, however arbitrary they are. And
Wait a year,
right? I guess what's it mean?
Let it be open for a year. And also, I got to think that they probably picked a very energetic, bright, fun family. I think it was sort of a selection. I think if they were actually counting legitimate, and maybe I stumbled off the ship in my green Hawaiian shirt and my faded red Key West shirt, just looking confused and looking for the next bar, and that's the millionth guy. I think maybe they would have said, well, maybe he's not the millionth. Maybe we will wait for the the nice, bright, fun family of 5 or 6. I think that's probably it. It's like you said, PR. And you're right. When there's a lot of dubious distinctions that continuously come out, it is nice to celebrate something, but far be it from Carnival or any cruise line to not take that advantage, take advantage of the possibility of the opportunity to pat themselves on the back a little bit with it too.
Yeah, and I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist. Even though I have gone to, well, never mind. But yeah, I'm not that much of a conspiracy theorist, but it's interesting because that story started coming online at about the same time when, Royal Caribbean were dropping their press releases that they had folks over at the new Royal Beach Club for its grand opening. So, is there any correlation between Royal, waving their flag saying, look, we opened a beach club in the Bahamas, and Carnival saying, hey, we got one of them club things too in the Bahamas, and we've done 1 million people.
That is
all in the same. I don't know.
Tony, I like that because you remember when Carnival was launching, I believe, a ship. I think it was whether it was the Jubilee or whatever it was in Port Canaveral, and then back in the background, what they do, Carnival floats in Utopia of the Seas right behind. Oh, by the way,
it's not even
we're here too. No, you have your little fun party, but we do have this massive ship that dwarfs your ship right behind it in the view. So Carnival might be trying to do a little payback as we really, really put on our tinfoil hats here.
Yeah, who knows if that's, but it does work out like that sometimes. And then in the same week, and I haven't really seen, well, I did see the press release, I think, from Norwegian, but over at Great Stirrup Key, I guess the new lagoon that they've been promising is open also. I can't remember the specs on it, but, Great Stirrup Key is a pretty cool location. It's, if I'm thinking of it right, it's right next to Perfect Day at Coco Cay. And it's just a beach location. They've got a cool lighthouse there that has some zip lining. I like it's a really nice beach, but I'm not all about the beach. I wish they had a pool. So now they've opened up a huge lagoon. I saw our friend Doug Parker talk about it on his show that he had some footage of that thing actually being open. So it's a competitive space, the cruise industry, and who knows what's going to sway a person from one way or another. We had a lot of talk this week about cruise packages, about combo packages and other things. I'm thinking really primarily Carnival came out with this interesting package. They're calling it the value packages. And so what we've seen Carnival try to do over the last few months is they've tried to build limited time for sale packages where you could combine multiple things together. So they came out with 2 packages, the Essential Values package, which gives you the Cheers Zero Proof, which is the non-alcoholic drink package, a value value Wi-Fi plan, a $50 discount on shore excursions, and a $25 dining discount. And I'm going to choke everybody. Hold on.
That was festive. You see that can? That was festive.
I talked myself dry. Hey, look, not endorsed by Coca-Cola unless they want to do it. Coke Zero for the win. Okay, so Cheers Zero approved, value Wi-Fi, 50% or $50 discount on shore excursion, 25 on specialty, and then they have the ultimate value package, which is the Cheers, the alcohol, premium Wi-Fi, $50 discount on shore excursion, $25 discount on specialty dining, 50% off spot treatments, and 50% off of photo packages. The value package is the essentials value is $50. The ultimate is $90. Do you like these packages?
Yeah, I mean they're nice. They're a little bit of a nod to what a lot of cruise lines are doing as far as trying to. It seems like there's a little bit of a trend happening right now where a lot of people are trying to say, okay, what do we got to do to give you that all-inclusive experience, that one-stop shop thing that I think a lot of people have been looking for. I think some of them are better than others. I would say that the one Carnival put out, again, I don't want to be Carnival if you're listening. You are probably my favorite cruise line still, and there's so many reasons to enjoy Carnival and cruise on Carnival. I love it. I'm looking at a Carnival cruise right now. Can't wait for my next one. But I think their version is a little bit lackluster. They're not really blowing you out of the water with any of these savings. I think it's more along the lines of, yeah, we're jumping on the trend of everybody else trying to give you an all-inclusive option while still not taking any money or revenue off the table for us.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the fact that they're limiting this, I'm not really sure what the move is. So
yeah, so the move, yeah, I think the move, like you say, like what they usually do, like you've seen with these sea cruises as well, the adults only cruises, they throw it out there, limited time, gives them what they're calling a new corporate word. Tony, ready? Listening window. The listening window will decide the future. Everybody, you need a listening window in what you're going to do to be able to decide what's going to go in the future. And I think they're just going to play it by ear. If people seem to like it, the response is good, they'll continue it. If it works out for them, they'll do it. But it gives them the option to pull it if it doesn't make sense.
It's pretty interesting because I do think, there's a lot of cruise lines that have packages. I keep referencing the cruise I just came off of on the Star. We paid $90 in advance, pre-cruise, for the Princess Premier package, which included alcoholic beverages, unlimited specialty dining, all of your cruise gratuities. It included 4 devices of premium Wi-Fi and a litany of other things, which for $90, incredible value. But I think what a package does, even if the value's not there, I think mentally it helps you get to where things feel all-inclusive. And I think cruise lines are realizing that people would rather feel like they're doing something all-inclusive than stress about their money, whether or not the value is there or not. And a little bit that's what I see in these Carnival packages. Like if you break down what you're getting there, I'm not sure that the value is that substantial, but I do like, I like the idea, like, the marketing is this, right? Look, you could buy Cheers on your own, but for a little bit more, you could also get this other stuff. And wouldn't you rather get this too? And I think people warm up to that idea. They like these packages, but all of a sudden you got to figure out whether it's a value or not. Apparently the response is good, and they've extended this. They were selling it through December the 18th, but then on the 18th they said, hey, so many people like it, and we're getting so much the listening window is, yielding that people are loving this, so we're going to keep it open until the 31st. The other thing is you could raise your hand and say, well, look, is this a way just to pop some revenue by the end of the year too? So I don't know, but that one's interesting. And then we also got an announcement from Norwegian Cruise Line that they've introduced Free at Sea Plus. Now, they've had something previously called Free at Sea Plus, but this is a completely different offering. Free at Sea has been a concept with Norwegian for a while, and then there was a period of time where they tried to do something using the word more, but we're back to Free at Sea. What does Free at Sea give you? Unlimited open bar, but it doesn't include coffee or It doesn't include coffee or bottled water. They also give you specialty dining at Free at Sea, 2 to 4 nights, 1 meal, 5 to 6 nights, 2 meals, 7 to 8 nights, 3 meals, 9 nights, 4 meals, and then free Wi-Fi. On the Free at Sea, you get 150 minutes of high-speed Wi-Fi and 1 device per guest, and it's applicable for all guests in the stateroom. That's what your normal Free at Sea offering is. Now, this week they said, look, if you like the Free at Sea, but you want even more, you can do Free at Sea Plus for $50, $49 a day, which is going to increase the expense of the drink that you can get for your unlimited open bar. You can get a more expensive drink, which includes top shelf drinks, but we're also going to include unlimited Starbucks. We're going to include bottled water, sparkling water at the restaurants, bottled water at the bar, and they took away drinks at Great Stirrup Cay for the people that are just on Free at Sea, but with Plus, you can now get drinks on the private island. They're going to give you more specialty dining or a discount on additional specialty dining, and instead of 150 minutes of internet, they're going to give you unlimited streaming, high-speed streaming. So this is a good value. Now, the Carnival one was a questionable value. I feel like this Free at Sea Plus is a good value. Did you look at it, and what do you think?
I did look at it. Everything you said is spot on, but I think as far as the value goes, you have to look at what you actually paid totally, because you're not, if you look at it like $49 per person per day, you're not including what you already paid for the Free at Sea, because that's on top of that. So if you'll indulge me, can I just do a little bit of a breakdown of a particular cruise, just like a
Yes.
So if you go on the Norwegian website and you want to book a cruise, it's basically going to give you a sticker price of $679 per person. So that's what's in your mind, especially if you're new to booking cruises, you're seeing that looks really, really good. Now, kudos to the cruise industry, because that number normally would have said $529, because there are taxes and port charges that they are now, I guess, inclined or compelled to put into the sticker price. So now that gets it up to $679. So $679, that includes everything. If you're going to do that, extrapolate that out for the room, that's $1,358 for the room if you want to just go on a cruise. Just like if you're going to book for Carnival or Royal Caribbean with no upgrades or anything like that, that's what it would be, $1,358, I should say. Now, if you opt in for the Free at Sea, now it's important to say that Norwegian defaults to you opting in. You have to remove it if you don't want it, which you can do, and get yourself back down to that $1,358, which would be the total for the room, again, base price. The open bar on this particular 7-night cruise would be $399 per room, and the 3 specialty dinings would be $120, and that's for the room. That's not per person. So that's going to get your initial sticker price that you saw of $679 up to a cruise total, a vacation total, of $1,877 just by opting in for the standard Free at Sea, which was the first set of deliverables you mentioned. Now, if you want to do the more at sea, that is going to be $49 per person times 2 for a 7-day cruise. That is $686 on top of that. So now, for getting a full inclusive experience, you are at $2,563. The only reason I break it down like that, because I don't think you look at it like the $49. You also have to kind of consider what you're also paying for the Free at Sea, and that's how you're going to find out what your real value is. So you look at online, you see I'm going to get on a cruise, $679 a person. You want everything, that is eventually going to cost you $2,563. I don't say that is a bad thing. It's just important to know the numbers.
No, and I think that's fair. And for me, when I look at the Free at Sea Plus, the calculation that you really have to do is how much is the unlimited Starbucks plan, because they have that plan. That's what you're getting. That's in addition. You're also getting bottled water, which you would have to pay for individually, and you would have to pay for internet individually, and that could be a big chunk. So if you're looking at that $50 as an add-on, I think you have to calculate, okay, what's the Starbucks per day, what's the internet per day, and what you would spend on water, because that's where I would be at on it. And I think
and they have full specialties, a nice little touch too.
Yeah, because specialty is expensive on Norwegian. Let me just look and see how much does internet cost on Norwegian, because I think that's going to be the big driver.
And while
Internet
Tony's looking it up, that's another strategic thing that Norwegian will do. They will jack up. If you looked up the drink package on Norwegian, it is an exorbitant number. It's a crazy number just because they want to drive you back to the free at sea. So this might be a situation that they might do that with specialty dining too, where they charge a lot for the specialty dining, knowing you're going to get the free at sea and making it look like a better value than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah, so I can't without having a cruise to look at. It's not going to give me the price, but I'm seeing some people report it to be like $299 for the streaming package, maybe for a week's cruise. So, and that seems pretty consistent with what I've seen, where you pay, $20, sometimes $30 a day for internet. So, right there, if you're spending $30 a day, and not everybody's going to do that, right? So the nice thing about these packages is, if you want to go all inclusive, if you are somebody that uses the drink packages, that drinks the coffee, that drinks the water, that uses the internet, you can definitely get to a better price point. But it's important that if you don't use all those things, to potentially stay a la carte. And we see enough people that cruise through our comments and conversations and stuff like that. There's some people that are pretty hardcore that never add on anything, and certainly those people cruise the cheapest. But again, they're maybe they're only drinking whatever included drinks are there, non-alcoholic, that kind of thing. So yeah, I like the fact that the cruise lines they give you a la carte, but I also like the fact that if you're going to go beyond a la carte, that they're going to give you some sort of break if you do some discounts. So I don't know, that would be an interesting conversation for the comments, or if you guys want to send us an email at questions@cruisetalknetwork.net, or jump in the comments on YouTube. Let us know, do you think that this either one of these Carnival package or the free at C Plus, do you think it's a good value, not a good value? I'm tempted. I don't think I have any Norwegian cruises coming up, but I would definitely give it a swing just to possibly save money. What I really wish all these included packages would have is gratuities. That's why I like that Princess one, but gratuities is one that would be nice to see go away a little bit too.
I agree. In your experience, though, it does sound like Princess seems like they were leading the charge with it. They have the tightest, package when it comes to, we're talking about a lot of tight packages and exposing things here. But I think Princess seems like they did have a lot of value. They were one of the first people that did it. And then I think Celebrity kind of did it after them, right?
Yeah, and what we've seen in both of those cases, Celebrity had an all-inclusive that included gratuities, and then I think they left the price the same and removed the gratuities. You're seeing an ebb and flow. Like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So even with the Princess package, they've increased the amount of money that it's going to cost, and then they've tweaked it to remove a few things, that kind of thing. So I still think it's a really great value. And every time we've cruised recently, we've always done the Premier package. We felt the value was there for the $90 a day based on how we use the internet. I love the fact that they give you 4 devices included. There's a few cruise lines out there that don't have a multi-device internet package, which is crazy to me, but maybe some people only need one internet device, and I probably am the outlier on that. But I agree, Princess has kind of led the way in this, and you see all these other cruise lines coming trying to match that energy, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you, though. I like it, too. I think it's great. You have that option. I think even you're just isolating the drink package. I think half the people that even get it, while they do like the value, and the value is there for now, still, the convenience and the not having to worry about, your sign and sale bill going up on a per drink basis, I think is just as much of a reason why people get it in general.
Yeah, certainly. I don't drink very consistently, like to the fact that I would know what kind of drinks that I like. But what I really like about having the drink package is, of course, all my non-alcoholic drinks are included. But man, one of my favorite spots on the Star Princess was this O'Malley's Pub. They had food there, they had drinks there, and Princess does a really good job at all their various bars. And a lot of cruise lines do this, where you go to the different bars, they have a menu for that bar, and they're going to have craft cocktails that are kind of tied to that menu. So I went to the pub almost every night, had some pub food, and I would just try different drinks off the menu. Some drinks I didn't like, some drinks I liked. Like at the end of it, I'm like, oh, I know I don't like, gin, for example, or something like that. But I love the fact that I could go there and, I could try a drink that was normally, $15 to $20. And if I didn't like it, no sweat off my brow. I didn't pay the $15 or $20. It was included in my package, and nobody was uptight about it. And so this is one of the benefits I really like of at least these all-inclusive packages, because then you can really, your vacation can really be experimental in some way where you can try stuff that you wouldn't normally, like pictures are included, for example, right? A lot of times I'm not going to stand in front of one of those backdrops or something like that because I know I'm not going to buy the picture and I don't want anybody to go through the rigmarole of having to go through all that. But the fact that it's included now, I think it's a better situation not only for the guest but also for the employee, because people are like, yeah, man, take my picture. Let's get that going on. So I think there's a lot to be said for it, and I do like the fact that these cruise lines are trying to do it. Norwegian's been a sleeping giant for a little bit, right? So we've seen that the turnover earlier this year. We commented about that, how things went one direction last year, and then we've seen some personnel change over there, and now we see some other things going on. And it seems like in the time where a lot of times in December you start to hear about price increases and all that stuff, Norwegian's like, well, let me hit you with some good stuff. And so this was certainly an interesting play from Norwegian last week with the Free at Sea Plus.
Yeah, certainly a lot of value there. Especially, I think a big one is the internet too. Not to beat this thing, to a pulp, but the 150 hours of internet, you either want internet or you don't. 150 hours is really kind of tough, especially if you leave it on by accident. You can really
minutes. It's in minutes, right?
I'm sorry, minutes. Yeah. Minutes. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that goes fast. Right. If you leave it on, it's done, right? Like you've watched a couple, TikTok videos, and all of a sudden your internet time is over. Yeah, there's nothing worse than that rationaling out, and the funny thing is. Yeah, and again, I might catch some hate for this, but I love my wife dearly, but we don't share things very well, right? So early on, we were like, oh, we're not going to buy 2 internet packages. If it was one of those scenarios where you could use the internet with a login, we had a couple cruises where it's like, okay, well, we're not going to buy 2 internet packages. We'll just buy one, and then I'll log in, and you log out, and I log in, and it just became a whole extra amount of energy of like, hey, I'd like to use the internet now. Can you log out? Are you logged into the internet? Can I log out of the internet? Can we log into the internet? It's like, what are we doing on our vacation where most of the conversation is about you logging in or out of the internet? So I'm a big fan on when they make it easy for people to, get their own stuff and not have to share it. And but I don't know. Maybe I should learn to share better or something like that. But we had some interesting conversations about that. I got an interesting email, Tommy, and the weird thing about the emails, we love to get the emails, certainly, but when it's emails that involve something dramatic or salacious, it's always hard to vet it. And but it kind of coincides with a story that I read on Cruise Hive. I got an email from a guy that was on what we'll call him DB. I got an email from DB, not DB Cooper, but DB. It says currently on the Hal Zider Dam that just came out of dry dock. Guess they were in such a hurry to get out in 12 days that they did not care about getting the toilets working. We are on a 21-day cruise that started on the 13th, and as of today, 12/19, the toilet in our room worked 1 day and half of the ship is having the problem. Cruise prior had the same issues. Kind of stinks paying 20 G's for a Neptune suite and not having a toilet. This was the Hal Zider Dam. Now, the story that was on Cruise Hive talks about a guest that's on another Holland America ship that their toilet's not working. So again, hopefully everybody's toilet gets working, and it's tough when you can't completely vet the thing. But DB, thanks for the email. A cruiser on board Koningsdam said that their toilet's been malfunctioning half of the cruise. As I read both of those stories, I thought, well, what are some of the things that happen in the cruise cabin that can ruin your cruise? Have you had any bad issues?
I luckily have been able to dodge the toilet issue for sure. And, it is tough. If those stories, again, like you said, you always have to vet for credibility, and you never know what's going on for what the real story is. There's 2-3 sides to every story. But I would say, yeah, that would qualify as something that would negatively impact my vacation. Seems like a little bit of an epidemic that's going on right now. A plumbing issue is going on with Holland America, if that's what's going on. But yeah, there's tons of things. I don't know if you have any. I put a couple of things together based on just kind of jogging my thoughts based on this story. A couple of things are temperature. At night, I like to have a cool room. I like to, a lot of people, they like the nice pillows, the big blankets. I like to, nestle in there and, have a cold room with a lot of blankets. And these ships, sometimes energy is a thing. Energy is hard to come by, or it's a problem, or it's, spread thin. And a lot of times the AC can be a little tough, first world problems for sure. But yeah, the temperature, one real pet peeve, Tony, and maybe you could probably agree with this or speak on it. Nothing kind of skeeves me out, for lack of a better term, than when you're in the shower and the drain isn't draining properly. That all sorts of things go into your imagination on what might be, between your toes at that particular time. You don't like it, you don't love it, you don't want any more of it. And if we could really prioritize keeping the drains clean and clear in the showers, that would help a lot, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, I was thinking about like the problem with the toilet not working is most of the time you don't find out until it's a mess, right? Like I've been in a scenario where the flush part didn't work, and somebody actually had to come fix it. The plumbing's out in the hall, so you'll see them like remove part of the corridor to get to the plumbing. And yeah, I think that is the worst part when it comes to your toilet not flushing, is most of the time you don't figure it out until it really needs to be flushed. And so if it doesn't work and all of a sudden you have a toilet full of waste, that's a huge problem. Heat is another thing. Yeah, I've been on some shows.
But yeah, like you said, the last thing you want is like some maintenance guy being able to scream out to you, "Oh, you had a Loco Fresh for lunch. It didn't, like, I see that you don't want that."
It's a mess. And then this, obviously the smell, right? So the smell of that stuck in your cabin. But then, yeah, I've been in cabins before where the AC hasn't worked. And I remember, I was on a ship and the AC didn't work. And, they're like, well, we don't have a way to fix it. And we don't have another cabin. We can bring you a fan to blow the hot air around the cabin. That was a challenging week in an interior cabin with no AC. I've also been on a cruise ship where the roof fell in leaking before.
Oh, I remember that.
That'll get you. That'll get you. And then sometimes just, noise. One of the things that I advocate for a lot is using a travel agent or a travel professional so that they can help you navigate where your cabin is on the cruise ship. The first cruise I ever went on, we just booked it ourselves. Like, I think we went on carnival.com and we said, hey, what's cheap? Oh, this one looks cool. Let's just take that. So we were the second cabin from the front of the ship on the Carnival Paradise. Interior cabin, porthole. Well, it's porthole, so I guess it's sort of interior, but it had a porthole, and so that meant that we were almost right on the water line. And so for that whole cruise, we were a wave breaker. We didn't know that was going to be the case. So every time the ship would plod forward, it would just crash, and it would be so loud. It would be like something just slamming into the wall. And we loved it, fortunately, but not everybody's going to love that. Right. So you got to know where your cabin's going to be, and sometimes you can book a cabin that's just noisy. The cabin that we were on the Star Princess, we were in a cabana cabin, which was really amazing. So this is a balcony cabin that has an extra room. It almost has a lanai. So you leave the balcony cabin, you go into a Florida type room, a lanai type room that's got a TV and a couch, and then you finally go out into your balcony. But it was on deck 10, and it was over the buffet, the outside eating of the buffet. So while the buffet was open, you could hear the noise of people eating. Certainly, if you book a inward-facing balcony on the Oasis class cruise ships, you might be able to hear the noise of the boardwalk, or you might be able to hear the noise of the pool deck or the Central Park. So noise is one of those things. I think I was trying to rank them in my mind. What would be the worst? Of course, the roof falling in, that's an outlier event. But the toilet breaking, it happens probably more often than you would want it to. I think that an unresolved toilet issue would probably be the worst, I think, for me.
Yeah. I also got ice. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get ice. I've researched and found out where the ice was in the crew area, and I think they actually appreciated me going into the crew area and getting my own ice at some point, because I think we all know the whole single turn down service and cutting the staff, and they're kind of spread a little thin. Drives me nuts. Very, very it's just not really a big deal at all. But I hate when the remote battery doesn't work and you got to track somebody down to get the remote battery to work. And how about this one, Tony? Have you ever done laundry have you ever gotten laundry service on a cruise?
Yes, the
Do you
last
think
cruise I did, yeah.
Do you think you're becoming part of some sort of physical challenge contestant when you're trying to make this happen? Because you have like basically wedding invitation tissue paper bag situation with a 1920s pencil, and you have to put all your garments into this bag without getting it to rip, and then you got to somehow communicate what's in the bag with this pencil on this razor thin piece of paper. And if you get that done, you feel like you've done something. You feel like you've achieved something without ripping the bag and destroying it.
I don't understand, the bag must be made out of some super material. Because I've done my laundry long enough, I'm more used to it now. But in the beginning, I ripped those bags right in half just with one pair of pants.
Yeah.
Like, you might have 5-6 things you'd like to get washed, a few pairs of pants, some t-shirts, something like that. And you're looking at that bag like, I'm only going to be able to get one thing in this bag, and I'm going to rip it open. I've been training, I don't know, over time, but I have raised my acumen at, being able to pack the laundry bag. But yeah, it's the weirdest thing. I do, that is one of my favorite perks when it comes to loyalty. I feel like I'm being a cheerleader for Princess on this, but man, they still have 2 times room service. Like they service your room twice a day. So they still have a turn down, which is beautiful. I get the laundry included. We had a really fabulous room steward. To say, shout out Nick if you're listening. Nick was an amazing room steward. 2 times turned down, and he was so quick when it came to cleaning the cabin. One thing that was interesting to me is a trend that is going on in the cabin, and I don't know if you've noticed it or if you even care. They're not doing top sheets anymore. I don't know if we talked about. I feel like I've talked to somebody about this recently, but just one big duvet. That was I had it on the MSC. I've had it on a couple other cruise lines where they're no longer giving you a sheet on your bed, and this is a disturbing trend for me because I love a sheet on my bed in addition to the blanket.
Tony, this is clearly for the environment, as you know.
Yeah, it's for the environment. I understand. But the cool thing is they're very accommodating. I figure it's one of those deals where most people don't care, right? So it's a smart move from a business perspective. If you can identify things that most people don't care about and then manage the exceptions, then you're fine. Certainly that was the case on the first day, as we always do. Hey, man, can you bring me a top sheet? Can you bring us an extra blanket, extra pillow? This is about the extent of the needs that we have when we cruise together. Jenny and I, we don't share a blanket, and she likes to have extra pillows. So, it's quickly remedied. But when I was on the Star Princess by myself, I didn't even ask for a top sheet. So, I just slept under the duvet. So I'm assuming that a lot of these changes, they are trying to identify things that people don't care about and then just manage the exceptions. But, yeah, the cruise cabin, and again, the naysayers will say, well, you shouldn't spend any time in your cruise cabin anyways that you paid all the money for. But if your cruise cabin's not right, it can throw your whole cruise off, really.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as far as the sheets go, I totally understand that being a concern. For me, it's not. I find myself more not like slipping into the bed. By the end of the night, landing on top. I'm happy if I land on top of the bed when I get home from these late nights on cruise ships. But it's true. It's 100%. It really is it's like a concert. Once you get like a up front seat at a concert, it's so hard to sit in the nosebleeds again and look at them. It's like a cruise cabin where I never spent a lot of time in the cruise cabin. I always sailed with somebody else, or maybe even sometimes 3 or 4 people in the room, and was fine with it. But then a couple of times I found myself in a position where I got my own room. So hard to go back from that. You get your own room in a cruise ship. That's nice. It really is.
Yeah. That's a whole, man. We got to have that conversation. What's it like to cruise 4 people in a cruise cabin? We'll have to have that conversation.
3 women, Tony. 3 women and me.
Wow.
Can you imagine? It was a line like with the getting in the bathroom. But it was a country cruise, so it was a country music festival at sea, and it was it was 4 days, and it was just belligerence the whole time. It was a fun time.
That sounds like a great time.
In my earlier years, because clearly we know we're way too old for that now, right?
We're way too old for that, obviously. Now, let's talk about something that could be a little politically sensitive. Obviously, we're happy to talk about movies and all that kind of stuff. We're not trying to get too political, but sometimes the politics of the world do invade cruising. And, there's been some wonderful locations over the last few years that used to be bucket list destinations for cruisers that somehow disappeared off those bucket lists because cruises stopped going there. And we may be on the verge of another fantastic cruising location becoming less and less visited because of the world, the geopolitical scene on the world. We lost, obviously, with the war between Ukraine and Russia, we lost the ability to do these Baltic cruises that would take you to St. Petersburg. And then with the turmoil in the Middle East, we, for a while, we lost the ability to go to Israel. And now, because of, things going on between the United States and Venezuela, we may be losing one of the premier spots in the ABC Islands.
Yes, you're talking about Curacao, Williamstown. Is that how you say it? And
yeah.
It's pretty interesting, and it's a little confusing because I didn't. I don't know if this is a lint issue. It's a belly button issue because they say there's some sort of a naval situation going on. Like what I don't know what's happening. That was horrible, but
I like how you got there. I was like, wow. I was like,
they can't all they can't all be gems, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a winner. The judge said to 10. I saw raise the card up over there.
I'll take it. It's a great crowd today. So. Yeah, it's the only interesting thing to me of this is they're calling it naval exercises. They haven't delved into too much information as to why, the specifics on why they're not doing it. I still don't know why. Are they worried about crashing into a U.S. destroyer or something like that? And it's also interesting that Norwegian is the only one that's canceling this port. Everybody else is sailing to Curacao as planned.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I was going to say I saw the stories about Norwegian dropping Curacao, but then I also saw like a Princess itinerary where it was not dropped. So what do they know that it could be an abundance of caution, right? Again, what kind of horrible outcome would it be if a cruise ship suddenly got into the middle of something where people got injured? So again, it could be an abundance of caution that other cruise lines aren't feeling is necessary. But didn't you say was there some sort of State Department warning out about it, or were you mentioning that?
No, I even looked into it because I've cruised fairly recently to the ABCs. I'm not sure if you have. They don't think this last one did, but I looked into it, and they said, yeah, you might encounter some, U.S. warships or whatever it is while you're down there in Aruba or Curacao, and it didn't seem like. I mean, yeah, it's a little scary, when you're seeing. You like to think that if they're confusing fishermen or boats with drug cartel or trafficking that might be going on, you'd like to think they'd be able to distinguish the cruise ship. You know what I mean? I think you're pretty safe in that regard. But any activity is activity that you do not want to encounter. So, Norwegian might just be playing it super safe. But yeah, I mean, I would also, I would like to know the specific reasons. The reason why we're not going to Curacao is because we don't want to be mistaken for a fishermen, or we don't, or there's just based on the traffic or something that might erupt. They're just saying naval exercises, and I guess we know as much as we love cruising and the industry in general, the transparency is not always their best foot forward.
Yeah, it's true. And again, without putting on the tinfoil hats, is there something else that makes it more advantageous to skip Curacao financially than going to Curacao? And is that why we see only one cruise line doing it? Maybe.
Now, I did see one of them, the replacement port, was damn Barbados. I was like, sign me up. I love Curacao, but the Barbados seems like one of those not rare, but super rare. But you have to really be at sea for a while. The St. Lucia's, the Granadas, the Barbadi. That's tough to get to. It's mostly, I don't know the length of the cruise, but I do know they said they were on one particular cruise, they were replacing Curacao with Barbados.
Wow. Yeah, I'm such a big fan of the Southern Caribbean. Another Norwegian story that came out this week that's slightly related, but almost runs contradictory. They did announce that starting in, I believe, November of 2027, so it's still a ways off, that they will be home porting 2 of the new Prima class ships there. I think it was could have been the Prima and the Viva, but in San Juan. So specifically so that they can go do Southern Caribbean sailings, which would include the ABC Islands, which would include Curacao. I love that part of the world. So I really hope that this clears up. I don't, this would be annoying to me if, again, that's the way the world is, right? Politics seep in, things going on in the world seep into our first world problems of cruising. I did want to circle back around. You mentioned first world problems. That's one of my favorite comments when you're talking, like, say, I had a story this week where on the Star Princess, there was a couple cruisers behaving badly. So we had one guy that was at the buffet where he was picking up food with the tongs, and then he would transfer the food into his hand, and then he would eat it over the other buffet food. Now, I don't know if I take exception with him taking, food from the tongs to his hand, but the thing I take exception to is eating over other food, because most of the time food particles fall out of your mouth. And then there was a guy that was at the 2 for $30 t-shirt sale that was worried that the shirts wouldn't fit him, so he just took off his shirt and then started trying on shirts, and then when they wouldn't fit, he would just take them back off and put them in the pile, putting them on his bare skin. And some people took exception to that, like, isn't that what you do in a changing room? Yeah, it is what you do in a changing room, not in the middle of a corridor with 50 other people. But so we were having, a little bit of that conversation, and I don't know where we were going with that. What were we talking about before that?
First world problems.
First world problems, right. So I think it was during that conversation where somebody was like, yeah, first world problems. I just want to put this disclaimer out there to anybody that's listening, that anybody cares. Anytime you're talking about cruising or watching a leisure video on YouTube, you're in the middle of first world problems. So don't kid yourself. Again, I love the people that are out there that feel like they're on social media changing the world because they made a Facebook post. Like, if so, it's, unless you're like in a third world country and you're exposing some sort of corruption in that third world country because you're making a Twitter post, you're doing nothing on social media other than being, living in the extreme luxury of the life that we have. So that one always gets me chuckling. Like,
What was the name of your stateroom steward that you gave a shout out to?
Nick.
Yeah. Nick, let me explain something to you. If I get on a Princess cruise,
Yes.
and I have to hunt you down for a battery, you do not want to see the hell that I am going to raise. Get your act together. I want fresh batteries. You know what? Put a backup in there too. I want a backup.
First world problems, Tommy. First world problems.
Absolutely.
Shop, Tommy. First
2
world.
towel animals a day minimum.
Oh man, I was fortunate. No towel animals on this. I loved it. All right, Tommy, we talked about a lot, man.
One more thing.
Yeah, what we got?
Quick. I really would love to go over a little bit of the beauty that I saw, obviously virtually, on the Royal Beach Club.
Oh yeah.
So it's all footage at this point right now, but I think this looks to me like they did it right, Tony. I like the way this thing looks.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff coming from, they probably had like a press event, or, I know they had a grand opening. I don't know if they took regular passengers over, but I've seen a lot of stuff on social media, people that are there filming. It looks great. I mean,
yeah.
Again, it's a baller move, right? You're going to bring your cruise ship right to the dock there in Nassau. Then you're going to be like, hey, we got this colorful water taxi, and we're going to take you to the best beach club in Nassau in 4 minutes.
Yep.
It's a heck of a move. And I'm like, is it $200 and I'm going to get to eat and drink? Take my money and take me over there, because so many people are just staying on board in Nassau anyways, and it's like, I feel like this is part of the play. As they know the numbers of people that get on and off the ship, it would not surprise me if Royal said, look, how do we get more people off the ship? And I think this certainly will do it.
Yeah, yeah. As I said before, I think the best marketing for it is just the pull in to the port, and you see it right across, and you look at it, you're like, that I want to be there. Exactly. So, very, very convenient, and you don't have to walk through. You don't even have to. It's beautiful of a cruise port that they built there. You don't even have to see it. You get right on the ferry, and they're doing all sorts of cute little things. They named the ferry. I think they named the little ferries that they painted. One's a flirty flamingo. Are you on the twisty turtle? They have the sassy starfish, kind of cute, little gimmicky, but kind of cute. Seems like, and I know this is in the infancy as well, so I don't know if they'll be doing this 6-8 months in, but it seems like there's an army of friendly bohemian people that are obviously paid to do so, but they greet you as though you're like your royalty. It seems like you get a complimentary welcome cocktail every 6 or 7 steps that you're on the thing for. And I think they did a great job with the poolery. You know what I mean? There's just pools everywhere with swim up bars everywhere. It's like a theme: pool, shopping, bar. Pool, shopping, bar. And they did it to me, and I'll be long-winded on it, but they did a great job of separating where you can kind of chill, relax, have a family vibe. And then they built this really cool kind of party pool called Party Cove, where it's just a beautiful structure. The DJ seems to not just stand there and play music. They do interactive. They'll do a little performance. It's like a kind of performative too. I think they nailed it, Tony. I like this thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be well received. Now, it's going to be interesting once we get like regular passengers coming back with feedback, but all the stuff that I've seen so far, it looks fantastic. And certainly Royal has a reputation of doing things well, so it should be fully open, I think, by the end of the year to passengers. I think coming up this week there's going to be like regular passengers going over there, so it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome is. I definitely want to try it. As interested and curious I was about Celebration Key, I'm certainly thinking about this Royal Beach Club, and it's really not hard for us to get on cruises from Florida down to Nassau. So maybe we'll have to get down there. I think that'd be cool.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, Tommy, this is our last show before the 25th of December. So a happy and a Merry Christmas to you. And I can't believe we're 15 episodes into this. This has been we'll have another show before the end of the year, but this has been such a cool thing to get into in 2025. And I certainly appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas day.
You too, Tony. Same to the lovely Jenny. I look forward to us getting together at some point. 15 episodes in, I think that's a little premature, but I would like for us to celebrate a frivolous milestone in the not so distant future.
Maybe 25. Is 25 for 100's really the way you should go, I think. Yeah. But let's do something at 25.
We should do random, like 43, like 40.
43. That's the answer to the universe. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode. Remember, we're happy to answer your comments over there on Facebook. Send us an email, questions at cruisetalkweekly.net. Check out everything Tommy's got going on at the Always Be Booked Cruise podcast. You can find me over at the La Lita Loca YouTube channel. And I think that's all the housekeeping. Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone.
And it's to win it, never to lose. When we talk about vacation, though, it's always a cruise. It's Tony and Tommy with a TNT schmooze. Cruise Talk Weekly, and we lighten the fuse.